It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by...
If you're a woman in perimenopause or menopause who's fed up with hot flashes, mood swings, mental pause, and excess weight, check out my Masterclass 5 Shifts to Thrive through perimenopause and menopause, even if you've tried everything and nothing has worked. This is the step-by-step plan my clients use to get complete control of their symptoms so they feel healthy, vibrant, and confident. And they redefine the aging process so they add more life to their years. Go to marjorienass.com and click on the links to watch the free masterclass.
Hello and welcome to the Health in the Real World podcast. I'm Janke, and I'm joined today by Marjorie Nass. Marjorie helps women thrive through perimenopause and menopause so they feel vibrant, confident, and energized. She's been doing it for 20 years, helping people redefine what healthy aging looks and feels like. Marjorie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad to be here, Chris.
So go into a little bit more depth as far as like how you got started in this and what you help people with.
Yeah, so I've been coaching women and teaching women for over 20 years now. And when I started, I was like in my late 30s, and most of my clients were in their late 30s to 40s to 50s. And what I found was that there were common symptoms that they were all having that they didn't realize were due to perimenopause and menopause, and the symptoms had also often gotten worse and worse, and that's why they came to me. And as I was going through my same aging trajectory, I realized this was not something I wanted to happen to myself, so I used my tools to create a system to help women not only thrive through menopause and get over their symptoms, and we'll talk about those in a moment, but also to prevent them, so that my journey was smooth sailing the whole way. So now I'm dedicated to helping women experience a much easier journey. That's
great. So yeah, like you said, we're going to go over the symptoms in a minute. Some of the symptoms, maybe some of the more common ones. And so in general, we're talking about women like in their 40s, 50, early 50s, maybe?
Yeah. So perimenopause can be like 8 to 10 years before menopause, and menopause officially is after a woman's last monthly cycle, and that's a year after, and symptoms can continue after that. So we're potentially talking about 10 to 15 years, which is a really long time.
Yeah, that is a long time. I have observed this with a lot of my clients are a little bit older, and females have told me, hot flashes, and that's actually probably the biggest or the most common symptom that I've seen from others. What are some of the other symptoms? Let's start with perimenopause. So you said it could be up to 10 years before actual menopause, which is defined as the last egg is released. So 10 years prior to that. So could this even start in your 30s?
Late 30s, absolutely, because the hormones change. And if you think about it, a lot of women are trying to get pregnant in their late 30s and they can't. And that's because their hormones have already changed. And that's why there's less of a chance to be pregnant. So there are a lot of women and they have a baby in their early 40s, and then they're starting perimenopause like a year or two after that. So the symptoms can absolutely start in the 30s. Most official menopause is between like 48, 46, and 52, 53.
Okay. So what are some other kind of perimenopause symptoms that maybe should shoot up a potential red flag?
Yeah, so absolutely hot flashes are one of the main ones. And when those occur during the night, they're called night sweats. And those can be really overwhelming for women, where they wake up soaking wet, have to change pajamas, have to change sheets, which of course, is going to affect sleep. So there are a lot of sleep issues as well, which can be worse with hot flashes. So then there's a lot of fatigue during the day and exhaustion, and also brain fog and forgetfulness. There's something that a long time somebody told me, that it's called mental pause, because yeah, right. So it's actually changing how everything comes together. So concentration and performance at work, everything like that. And then mood swings are huge. Just crying and ups and downs and roller coaster of emotions, that's affecting everything in their life. Now, some of the other ones that are not normally, and this is what I found with my clients who were coming to me with pain, was that pain and aches are also a big symptom of menopause as well. And weight gain, and especially weight gain around the midsection.
Got it. Okay. So we have, again, fatigue, exhaustion, mood swings, aches and pains, the hot flashes, weight gain, the night sweats. I had night sweat. I had COVID. I had the Omicron variant, and that I had one night of night sweats. So I can maybe relate, but it was only one night. It was only 3 hours. But so somebody who, especially a woman who's in her 30s, like I would imagine this would be very tough to wrap your mind around. Like, oh, I'm in perimenopause. I'm 37 years old. Already, I have conversations with women about this, that if a woman gets pregnant at 35 or older, she's a geriatric pregnancy. So a woman who's in her late 30s, even early 40s, having these perimenopausal symptoms, and your message is, it's not over. You're fine. Like, we can get through this. What are some strategies that you implement? Like, what is the step-by-step process of how you figure out, how we're going to address this?
Yeah. So the first thing that is so crucial is for women to put themselves first. And I call it being strategically selfish. And it might sound so simple, but it's like, for women, a lot of times they're not taking care of themselves, especially with their sleep. So they're doing everything else that they need to do, and they're going to sleep later. And believe it or not, that is going to affect night sweats, and that's going to affect fatigue, which is about everything. So putting themselves first, realizing that taking care of themselves affects everyone around them. If they're a better mother, if they're a better partner, that makes a better friend. Everything in the world, everything in their life gets better once they start realizing to put themselves first. It's a cliche, put on your own oxygen mask first, right?
Yep. So you put on your own oxygen mask first. You say, I'm ready. I'm ready to start this. They call you, hey, Marjorie, I need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And so you talk to them about, I agree with you. Sleep is usually number one for whatever health thing you're trying to get. Yeah, and it's like a coaching format, right? So you have a group coaching, you're talking to them about exercise, I imagine. So how does that work? What does that look like?
Yeah. So it's very interesting because a lot of these have some commonalities in terms of timing. And this is not what people usually think. They think about, 8 hours of sleep, and 3 meals a day or whatever. But I call it the how and the when and the why of eating. So really looking at these patterns that we have around eating and optimizing our body's daily rhythms, and circadian rhythms, sometimes they're known as, where we can optimize how the body's functioning and how it's digesting, which affects our energy and which affects our aches and pains, and certainly affects our moods. So as we start taking care of ourselves, these symptoms can diminish or be eliminated entirely. But the sooner we can start implementing these patterns in how we really take care of ourselves with our daily habits, the more minimal the symptoms will be. And a lot of what these symptoms are they are underlying causes that are coming to the surface after years.
Interesting. So this might be habits that were started in the 20s, maybe. I just got my first job and I need coffee to stay awake or to wake up in the morning, and then I had kids, and then I'm getting busy, and life just kind of has a way, right, about it. So this is sort of like Mother Nature catching up to women in a way.
That's a great way of, it's a great way of putting it. It's a really great way of putting it.
So, but that is, I think that does offer hope, right? That you're saying you can turn it around. You even said you can potentially eliminate the symptoms of perimenopause as well. Is there an end? Like, obviously, like you said, the definition of menopause is the last egg, and then it can extend past. The symptoms can extend past. What's like? I guess what I'm saying, the menopause is like a transitional period, right? What is post? Like, where are women trying to get to? What's life after menopause look like, after the big transition?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just want to clarify that it's officially defined, technically defined as a year after a last period, which may or may
Oh, a
not be when the
year.
last egg
Oh, got it.
has
Okay,
been.
okay.
So a period.
And a year after, not
A
right.
year after, a whole
Okay,
year
got it.
without periods. And a lot of women like will only get one every 6 months and then they'll have another. That's not quote unquote officially menopause. And
Got it.
so this can be psychologically very it can just be very scary for women and very disappointing because they feel like their life as they knew it was over. They're not a young woman anymore. And we can think about a lot of examples that we had in our life of women that just kind of let themselves go in their 50s and their 60s. And it doesn't have to be that way. So if you had those examples, or if you have friends around you who are suffering and who are like, I guess I'm just getting old. This is it. I feel I'm 50 and I feel like I'm 80, it's who you surround yourself with. So having these examples of women that are vibrant and super active and just saying like, okay, this is the next stage. It's actually, there's some freedom here. I'm getting older. My kids are getting older and I have some freedom here. And I live in San Diego in Southern California. And I have examples here every day, like people in their 80s. I don't even know how old they are. And they're walking fast and they're enjoying themselves. And there are examples, but I used to live in New York City and not a lot of really older people live in New York City. So you kind of feel like, oh, well, they just disappear and they go away. So surrounding yourself with friends and that there's hope and that we can redefine what aging looks like and look forward to our 60s, 70s, 80s and being like a cool grandma that can travel around, or a great grandma that can like travel around with the kids and keep up with the grandchildren and go skiing with them. I have a friend, she goes like black diamond skiing with her little granddaughter. I mean, it's
That's
incredible.
awesome. That's
so,
awesome.
And she didn't learn until she was like in her 50s or 60s. It's not like, and she's in her 70s.
That's
So
great.
like what's possible? It is possible. And sometimes the mood swings and the darkness, it can really feel like, what's left for me. So but there definitely is hope.
The mind kind of plays tricks on you, especially if you're going through something, you're not sure how you're going to get out of it. I would agree though, San Diego, you mentioned the San Diego and New York. San Diego, definitely very active, vibrant. The weather is always great to get outside and wear shorts and move and just like it's who you compare yourself to, right? Who you're associated with. I'm in the Bay Area and there's a lot of techies here. And in the tech industry, like 30 is ancient. And you know what I mean? There's like CEOs who are 25 years old and they won't hire. I'll be 42 this weekend. They look at me and be like, 42, huh? I don't know. It's a little old, right? So, but then on the other hand, you surround yourself with older people and then you're the young buck. So it kind of does depend. I wanted to say one thing you said. Oh, the cool grandma. I love this idea. This is maybe a year ago. I saw this woman on Instagram and she was probably also in her 70s. And if you looked at her from like her neck up, you could see like, oh, she looks like she's in her 70s. She doesn't look like she's 30. But then you look at her body and 3 years prior, I think she started doing gymnastics and she had muscles and it was just so cool. And she was up there doing like dips and she's doing all these swings and the body will adapt to what we give it. Right. So if you're looking around and you say, well, I just turned 50 and I just finished menopause and I'm done, then that's what will happen, right? On the other hand, if you say, like you said, this is freedom getting older. This is my chance to become, a new version of myself. So what are some, that's actually a good segue. Like, what are some results that you've seen with people? What are some stories, obviously leaving names out, but what are people experiencing, these women who are in your group, either collaborating with each other or you coaching them, or what's happening with them?
Yeah, I want to give some examples. But one thing I just thought of, Chris, is that there's still a stigma about the word. Like, a lot of people don't even want to say the word. And for years, it was like a euphemism, like the change. Have you gone through the change yet? And
Right.
it's like, this is like a normal part of life. Like, every woman that is going to be through this. And there are still men who are like, they don't want to say the word. I'm totally serious. Because I tell people what I do, and that's what I say. And some, people are uncomfortable. Mostly women are like, oh, I'm so glad you're doing that. Like, we really need your help. So some examples of some women who like really were holding on to a lot of weight. And one of the women that I started working with, she was coming home exhausted from work, like just plopping down on the couch, falling asleep with the TV on, dragging herself to bed. And too exhausted in the morning to take care of herself, and was running behind from the moment that she woke up. So she couldn't take care of herself. She couldn't figure out, how to get ahead of things. And then she was like really frustrated and snippy at work. And it was really hard for her. It was like, then there was like these huge complaints at night. And so she had aches and pains, and she also had acid reflux. And there are some digestive issues that can come up in menopause and perimenopause too. And so we started working together, and very quickly, the acid reflux was totally gone. But when she started sleeping better and having better sleep habits, she was able to wake up and have this whole beautiful morning routine that set her up for a day that supported her health. And so she lost weight pretty effortlessly. So she was feeling amazing in her body. But then she had this clarity about her work. And she realized that wasn't really what she wanted to be doing. And she had this side hustle with this online program for children and reaching children. And so with this newfound clarity, she decided to leave her job and do her passion full time. And she and her husband moved to an area where they could be more active and be outside more. So it's like, once you're feeling better, there's this clarity about who you are and what you do and how you want to live and what's possible. And so that's one of my favorite client stories. I'm really happy for her.
That's a great story. And, I often say, we have all these different areas of life that we have goals around: family and financial and business and health. And that's a great example of how, if you set your health goal first and you take care of that, then everything else sort of dominoes from there, right? She started her new venture. They moved. That's awesome. So, Marjorie, we're getting close to the end. I want you to be able to wrap this up with going very big picture. I like putting you in front of a university graduation, commencement ceremony, and a bunch of young adults there who are just getting started in their journey. The women in the audience are 20 years from starting to work with you. What kind of wisdom would you offer them on how they can get the most out of their lives?
Yeah. So these could be my kids, like even younger than I don't have kids, but I mean, like in terms of the age.
Right.
And I would say to them, like, you have one life and you have one body. And everything that you do is going to affect how you think and how you relate and how you feel and how you look at your life. So as much as you want to, work all the time or do all these things, like, make sure that you are taking time for yourself, time that's quiet, and time you can really think about your life and your goals and how your health fits into that. Because if you don't have your health, then you don't have anything.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Marjorie, how do people get in touch with you? Website, social media?
Yeah, so everything is Marjorie Nass, and I have a free masterclass, 5 Ways to Thrive Through Menopause. You can get that right on my the links on my website, and all the ways to contact me are also marjorienass.com on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marjorie, for joining us today. Again, this is Health in the Real World. We're here with Marjorie Nass. She's helping women make the transition. Is that what they call it?
The change.
The change. Well, thank you again, Marjorie, so much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.